And I'd like to present the Hebrew, a few Hebrew aspects of the spelling question. I will share my PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Yes. So I will talk about some social-cultural motivations for spelling variation not in Hebrew. How did I get to this research? Well, in Mark Siba's book, Spelling and Society, which I read enthusiastically, I was expecting to see some reference to various languages. And when I was looking for a reference to Hebrew, I found almost nothing, namely a mention of Hebrew among the languages that are outside of Europe and treated in the book on the map, as you can see here, and then some reference to Hebrew as an example for deep orthography alongside English. So that's not a specific treatment of spelling in society, just some premises. And then in the glossary, Hebrew served as an example for a consonantal writing system together with Arabic. This is the least I can say is this is not precise. So when Hebrew is mentioned here as a consonantal writing system, this is not just, it is not the right description of what Hebrew is with respect to the array of writing systems in the world. But this is not what I would like to get into. Sorry. The question is spelling and society viewed from Hebrew, since it has not been treated yet. And also my own research is just ongoing. I would like to share with you a few points and try to make a thread maybe with your comments. And I will give my point of view to begin with. So spelling and society seen from Hebrew, since this is still missing. I will first present the ideological factor in the choice of script, namely what is known as the Hebrew script. I will then treat the question of graphemic quarantine for foreignisms or for loanwords. Then I will deal with the dual attitude towards Arabisms between foreignisms and Semitisms, because some words are foreign, others are from the same family. What does it mean? Does it mean that they are graphemically, they enjoy graphemic treatment that's different or the same? We'll see that. The graphemics of religious taboo. How do you use euphemism in graphemics when the term is a religious taboo? We'll see that. We'll then discuss intentional respelling, which expresses disapproval. How do you spell differently to show that you don't like what you're writing? Then general conservatism in anti-Pliny graphemics of Hebrew. People who don't like reforms, and what do they say about that? How do they express that in writing? And then some I-dialect phenomena. This is a very different array of, or various, looking for the right word. It's quite a hectic array of phenomena, and a thread is still in need. Your comments will be most welcome. So, first of all, the ideological factor in the choice of script, that's very clear. There have been attempts to Romanize the Hebrew script. It hasn't worked because of ideology. So all of the attempts have failed. In fact, the Hebrew script has never ceased from being used, whereas Hebrew had not been spoken for about 17 centuries, from about 200 CE until a little over a century ago. The Hebrew script was always used both for not colloquial Hebrew and for the Jewish languages, such as Yiddish, Spanish, Arabic, and so forth. The Jewish ethnics were using the Hebrew script. So script and identity go together. Now, since they go together, why should spelling be an exception? In Hebrew, it is not. It is not. Here's one example. Here's one category: the graphemic quarantine of foreignisms in modern Hebrew. Well, actually, if we look at other languages, we can see that also in English, for example. We can witness spelling subsystems. Spelling marks the lexical foreignisms. Oh, okay. You can see the chat. It's for the previous talk. So English enjoys special spelling for various categories of vocabulary. For example, native versus foreign. Within foreign, we have Latinate and Greek, and those words are marked graphenically, mainly by different spelling. Now, as for Hebrew, we can observe that based the practice in Yiddish, Hebrew reserves special graphemic treatment to non-Hebrew words. Now, what really happened is that in Yiddish, which was using, as I've just said, or is using the Hebrew script, the European lexical stock was using more or less phonemic spelling or a phonemic orthography, whereas the orthography reserved to patrimonial lexicon from Hebrew was using the traditional Hebrew spelling, be it well, opaque to various degrees. Yiddish did not respell Hebrew. It kept Hebrew as it was, and was just spelling phonemically the European stock of vocabulary, Germanic, Slavic, and so forth. So already in Yiddish, we can see a clear distinction within the spelling subsystems between what is respected as Hebrew, coming from the Jewish heritage, and colloquial Yiddish used in everyday life, which was just technically phonemic. Now, what modern Hebrew did with this is keep the distinction. So for autochthonous vocabulary, Hebrew goes on using the traditional spelling, which makes Hebrew, of course, as Seba just said, a deep orthography. This is the case of traditional Hebrew. Now, foreign words are spelled much more phonemically, in a much less complex manner. So we have different graphemic treatments for different phonemes, be they based on whether they are autochthonous or foreign, mostly pan-European. So we can see, for example, that the phoneme A can be spelled differently in Hebrew words, but only in one way in foreign words. Same for E, the vowel E can be using the zero grapheme in Hebrew words, But in foreign words, it has the y, the yod letter everywhere. As for the I diphthong, it has one yod basically in Hebrew, but a double one for foreign words. The sound the can be using either the vav letter or the bet letter, whereas for foreign words, it's mostly a double vav, so it's a different treatment. The sound s could be using the one letter shin or the letter samech, whereas in foreign words only samech. So it's much shallower orthography for foreign words, which are now, of course, about 5% of Hebrew words are foreign, so it's a minority group. In Yiddish, it goes the other way around. Still, much shallower orthography for European words than for Hebrew words. The sound ch could be using two different phonemes, could correspond to two different phoneme graphemes. I'm sorry, in Hebrew words. There's only one of them in European words. The sound k, it's two different graphemes in Hebrew, one in foreign, and the sound t corresponds rarely to one letter and frequently to another, whereas it's quite the other way around in foreign words. So to illustrate this, if we take the Hebrew word mifkada, it has no yod for the sound E of mifkada, as opposed to hypnosa, which does take a yod because it's a foreign word. So it's less shallow. It's more, I'm sorry, it's more shallow, the Hebrew, the European components. Another example, if we take the word laila, which means night, in Hebrew, it has a single yod in Hebrew, as opposed to cider, drink, you have a double yod. So it's less ambiguous. Another example, if we take the word Havana, which means understanding in Hebrew, you use the letter B for Havana, whereas Havana, the Cuban capital city, Cuban capital, it's going to be a double vav, spelled differently. Same for the word tik, from the Hebrew word which means bag, tik, using one T grapheme, whereas for the tik, foreign word, another T grapheme, taf and tet. So this subsystem of foreign words reserves a different graphemic treatment to foreignisms, which means that they are not as, they are less respected, they are less welcome, they don't enjoy the prestige which traditional spelling enjoys in modern Hebrew. Now, big question, is Arabic a foreign language? In other terms, do you call your family foreign people? Well, you don't. Arabic is not a foreign language with respect to Hebrew. It's a sister language. Yes, there's a conflict, but linguistically, it's a sister language. So Arabisms are not foreignisms, they are Semitisms. All remains in the family. Now, what happens when it comes to spelling Arabisms in Hebrew? Well, here's the thing. It can behave either way. People might be spelling Arabisms as foreignisms, whereas educated loans would spell them as Semitisms. So they would have some etymology within their spelling. Which means that whereas for foreignisms is only one T grapheme, for Arabisms we can have either one, as for Hebrew, which in Arabic correspond to either non-emphatic or emphatic sounds. In Hebrew, neither is emphatic. The distinction in Hebrew is only graphemic, and graphemic and semantic, whereas in Hebrew, whereas in Arabic, it's also phonemic. So these different letters in Hebrew correspond to different letters in Arabic, and thus maintain the etymological connection between both languages, which of course does not exist when it comes to European languages. Same goes for the sound k, which could take different letters in Hebrew based on the letters in Arabic. So the etymological correspondence is maintained. Just one example, the known term intifada is spelled in Hebrew with a t that corresponds to Hebraisms, not to foreignisms, because in Arabic it has the non-emphatic sound ta as opposed to the emphatic sound pa, not represented in this word. So the Hebrew spelling of intifada actually tells us this is written or spelled as a Semitic word, not as a foreign word. And of course, this spelling of Arabisms follows the Judeo-Arabic tradition of transcribing Arabic words in Hebrew scripts. Yeah, now this is part of my ideology, because keeping European loanwords in a quarantine means rejecting them, not accepting them into the system. Whether words from Arabic are welcome in a way that might fill gaps which did not exist earlier, of words which did not exist earlier. So Arabic loanwords in Hebrew are welcome, and they keep an orthography which is Semitic-like Hebrew. So by rejecting Europe, I'm yearning for the Near East as the idea of Zionism would like it. Spelling reflects those tendencies, those ideological and identitary tendencies. Religious taboo is also part of both language and spelling. We all remember Monty Python's Jehovah, 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 because this is the only word which you're not supposed to be saying, because it's sacred. Well, graphics is also subject to some taboo if we consider the tetragrammaton, which consists of 4 letters, a 4-letter word which you shouldn't say, but which is not the usual 4-letter word, just another one earlier. Well, some language users, when they come across the sequence Yod Hey, they avoid keeping them together. They use an apostrophe to separate them, to avoid the sacred sequence of Yah, which is in the tetragrammaton. So a word, for example, like be'aya, which means a problem, instead of spelling it, they would use an apostrophe between both letters Yod and Hey to avoid the sacred sequence, what is considered for them as sacred. Now, this is, of course, a social tendency. Non-religious people would not do that. Not all religious people do that. Those who do that are necessarily religious, and they have this they display this practice. Same goes for bakery. Bakery, mafia. So again, the ya in the end. So okay, you can say it, but when you write it, just avoid the sequence. Same happened with the word Elohim. Elohim means God, but you shouldn't say it. Well, those who think you shouldn't say it. And so they change the ha slightly graphemically, the ha letter, the hey letter. They just took the letter that resembles most graphetically to the ha, and they took k sound or letter, and then it, instead of spelling this Elohim, they would spell it like this, with a k. And it also engendered a difference in pronunciation, and then people say, instead of Elohim, people say Elohim. It has had some repercussions on pronunciation. It has created a new word that comes from a graphemic taboo, with some graphitic resemblance between the hey and the kuf. All of these are not spelling errors. They are spelling differences which display some meaning beyond the simple meaning of a word. Okay, I can see someone saying something in my chat. Okay, thanks, guys. So intentional respelling, people just respell when they don't like you. And whereas in the past they would do it by graffiti, today they also on the social media. So if we take people who don't like the service given by the Israel Railways service, instead of spelling rakevet train with a kaf, they would spell it with a kuf, which alludes to decay. Different spelling alludes to something else. Same for the police. People who don't like the Israeli police would not write mishtara with a final hey, but with a final ayin, which alludes to the word ra, which means bad. They don't like it, and they show it by spelling. They don't show it by pronouncing, just by spelling. Same for Sarat HaTarbut, the culture minister, which some people did not like, or the former culture minister. So the term Sarat HaTarbut, Sarat would be with some kind of sin, and they would use a samech to actually say cultureless. So these are puns. Same go for left. People who don't like other people who are identified with the left would spell it differently to disapprove. So these all convey the pejorative meaning. I'll skip, and then there are some anti-Pliny graphemic conservatism tendencies. Pliny spelling means adding more letters to the orthography to make reading easier. More yod letters to convey the sound a and e, and more vav letters to convey o and u, to correspond to o and u. These letters help people read and fill the gap of missing vowel letters here and there. But some people just got used to the formal spelling and they don't like it. So in ultra frequent words, they would avoid the new regulations and would keep the formal orthography. So now they are respellers because orthography has moved and they haven't. So they keep vowelless words like for me'od very much, and a yodless ima, which otherwise would take it in the new orthography. The whole debate of the word milah, a word which some people still spell without the yod, including in the liberal Haaretz daily newspaper, elitistic, so which maintains for a long time, since 1994, still maintaining milah without the yod. Book editors just refuse to obey, as says one columnist. And here we are witnessing a spelling tradition against new orthographies. It also has some categories, well, morphological categories, which are more resistant than others, as exactly happened just before this talk when I sent the link to a friend of mine, and she said, okay, we will come in. and she wrote Nikanes, we will write in without the yod, which is a good example. It just happened. Well, she's an intellectual, and she just wrote it as she's used to. Okay. Another example is the word haita. She was, or was past tense in the third person feminine. Haita, which usually, well, used to take 1 yod, now in the new orthography it takes 2 yod, but most spellers keep writing 1 yod. Actually, those who use 2 yods must be teachers ardent about this question. Otherwise, they would keep it with a single yod, including myself. So these are NTypes tendencies, and we can see the difference between orthography and spelling. And when orthography moves away from what the intellectual elite or even general public thinks is a good way to spell, or just a habit, they would keep it this way. Last point, idolatry spelling. Well, this is necessarily only about puns. So if we think about how the word women in English could be respelled like this, like women, Hebrew also can also respell while keeping the pronunciation intact. For example, if we take the word bet sefer means school. One design school has been named Bet Sefer, has named itself Bet Sefer, spelling it less etymologically, more phonemically, as some kind of anti-spelling, like anti-cultural language, just saying it differently. And it actually, well, on its own website, it says Ha Bet Sefer, so the school. Keep it like with a K-O-O-L. Ha Bet Sefer was established by the Israeli Advertising Association, and so forth. Above all, this ensures that Ha Bet Sefer curriculum is with strict requirements in the advertising industry in order to graduate. Well, the point is that it conveys the value plus young. It is young. This is one example that has spread. Other examples are mostly used in SMS spelling. Some spread more, others spread less. And this study has to go on to be able to quantify the phenomenon and see whether some spellings take on. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this very interesting talk.
Thank you, Anis.
Expecting questions from the audience. For the moment, I have a question about foreignisms.
Yes.
When I take named entity referring to some person with a Jewish name, for example, Cohen or Levi, but somebody from the United States or some other country, will you write it in the traditional Jewish way, or will you consider it as a foreign word?
Well, if it still sounds Cohen, then yes, like it will maintain the traditional orthography. As for Levi, Hebrew says Levi.
Yes.
Now, if you think of the genes Levi's or Levi's, then it's already spelled as a foreignism because it's pronounced differently. Same for David, for example. If a person's name is David, like in French, for example, it would maintain the traditional spelling of David. But if it's David, like David Bowie, it was spelled phonemically as a foreignism.
And is this practice the same for Ashkenazi and Sephardic names? Or are the Sephardic one closer to the Jewish spelling?
There are, well, when it comes to traditional terms like Cohen and Levi, it's much earlier than the distinction between Ashkenazi and Sephardi.
But somebody called Khan will
Okay.
not become Cohen.
Okay, Khan would take the phonemic foreign spelling. Yes.
Okay. I have a question by Ben Young.
Yes.
Hi, great talk. Thank you very much.
Hello. Yes. Thank you, Ben.
You mentioned that that Arabic words are not commonly respelled in the same way that other foreign words are in Hebrew. Does that apply for other Semitic languages as well? Like I was mainly thinking of Amharic specifically because there's a significant number of Amharic speakers in Israel.
I'm sorry, I don't get the name of the language.
Amharic.
Amharic.
Yeah.
There are many Amharic, well, relatively many Amharic or originally Amharic speakers, and there hasn't been a lot of loan practice of lexicon.
Yeah, but I was curious.
In case there are, I'm not really sure. For example, the word for a Jewish Ethiopian rabbi, like case, the word is case. I know how it is spelled in Hebrew. I never looked into the Ethiopic spelling of it to see whether it is with a kaf or with a kuf. If it's a kaf in Ethiopic, then the Hebrew spelling with a kuf treat it as a foreignism. This is an interesting question, which deserves to be. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. Thank you. Thank you very, very much for your talk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yishai. It was very informative.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting my talk.